late game win.
Yeah, thank you very much, Quickshot. I'm joined here by Yankos from the jungle. After that amazing win, it was an insane end to that game, Yankos. Congratulations. But I do want to talk about how you were saying last week you didn't feel like a lot of things were working out on your team. Do you think that's now changed with 5 wins on the board?
Okay, so first of all, I want to apologize for my voice. It's pretty dead right now. It was a really tough game. So I think we improved a lot from last split at least. And this game, I would say my performance was not the best, but my team kind of carried me, so I'm pretty happy with that. Overall, yeah, we are working on mistakes because we still want, like, our main objective is still to go to World Finals. So we are working really hard every week to just achieve that. And yes, I think we are improving.
Well, I spoke to Vanda back in the promotion tournament. You just said that your goal is to reach the World Finals. What are you going to do, and what are you going to try and what measures do you have in place to try and achieve that goal, basically?
Well, there is nothing special. We are basically just playing as much as possible. Like I felt like last split we didn't play that much. Now we are playing as much as we did last year, and last year we had big success. So I think overall we just need to play more, and I think our roster overall is pretty good players. So just about the team synergy, pretty much, in my opinion.
Well, you mentioned the roster. Mr. Rallis has rejoined your lineup. How has he changed the dynamic of your team?
Well, Rallis is basically, I would say, Woolite was really good in terms of mechanics, and he was a really good friend as well. Comparison, like if I compare him to Rallis, I feel like Rallis is really good mechanically as well. Maybe he's a little bit worse than Woolite, I'm not sure. But when it comes to late game decision making, he is one level above, I would say, Woolite, because Woolite was not playing too good in terms of those late game team fights, and people would usually blame him, even though it was not always his fault. With Rallis, he is this really, like his position in team fights is just like top tier, I would say. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, well, it definitely looks like the roster change worked out this time. Thank you very much for the interview, and congratulations again on the win. We're going to shoot it over to the analyst desk to dissect that game.
Thank you so much, Pulse. Yeah, well, an AD carry with good late game positioning is definitely what you need if you're going to be playing games like this.
True.
That went incredibly long, and, well, I actually thought that ROCCAT had thrown it away at the end when they tried to go for that second Nexus tower and the Nexus. I feel like they should have been punished there, but in the end, they tried to pull it out.
They did. We were all saying, go for Dragon, go for Dragon.
Yeah.
You've got to stop that 5th Dragon. Luckily for ROCCAT, they were kind of gifted SK with some kind of weird macro level decisions when it came to just trying to close the game out. So a very messy end to the game for both teams.
Yeah, Crepo was saying we don't even remember what happens in the early game, but that's what we're here for. And we want to talk a bit about, well, the Maokai pick. We actually have a tweet from @Krona who tweeted, I definitely see why Crepo said Maokai has fallen off hard. Maokai's entire kit revolves around team fights. But this was their saving grace, actually, in this one, because Steve, he got put far behind, but still has a presence in team fights.
Well, some of the reasons that Maokai has fallen off a little bit here in Europe is because teams like to sacrifice the top laner. In these lane swaps here, we often see Maokai fall really far behind. This game as well, Steve got set a little bit behind in the early game. Or if you look at like Korea or China, they really value getting farm in lane swaps. They make sure the top laner can get farm so Maokai gets strong, because we see what happens once you get items, once you get to late game, you become so unkillable. We can even just pull up the first replay we have, because that's also just the Maokai being the front line for ROCCAT. And what we're going to have to notice here, and this is the thing we're going to have to criticize a little bit, is the 2 carries for SK Gaming. We have Tristana and Cassiopeia. They have to be able to sit there and deal consistent damage. They didn't do a good enough job. Notice Candy Panda here, how few auto attacks he gets off. He gets stunned now, so there's nobody in range for him to hit. Then he has to jump away. Once again, he's not able to hit anything. And now, finally, they can start hitting Steve. But then the Cassiopeia misses her poison, no Twin Fangs coming in, and suddenly there's so little damage from SK that even an underfarmed Maokai at this point could buy enough time for the rest of ROCCAT to clean up the fight.
Yeah, you say wasn't doing enough damage. Cassiopeia with a 15-minute death cap, and we heard Trevor say it in-game as well, that Shen actually did double the damage of the mid laner at that point, and I kind of felt like Freddy, much like last week, tried to be everywhere at once because he was very farmed up, but he has a double teleport. He was trying to push the inhibitor of buff the minions, then get in the fight and do everything at the same time.
Yeah, there were a couple of weird decisions, as we kind of touched on earlier, when right at the end, mid inhibitor was down, SK were pushing into the bottom with a big stack kind of waiting to come in the top lane. I think they could have look to have been a little bit more greedy, put Freddy up there, push it in with the Baron buff. It's very nitpicky, but that's the kind of situation you don't find yourself in too often. 50 minutes into a game, you know, it's difficult to get that late game decision making, but generally that's just one of those situations where I really would have liked SK to ramp things up.
Yeah, we did get to see how they want to play with the Shen. You know, split push late game, and then you have 4 members sitting around that Baron here, preventing the other team from starting it, and if they ever back away to go down defend the bot lane, you just start the Baron yourself. That's how SK Gaming got back in the lead in this game here. They just sadly couldn't use it to win.
Yeah, rounding it out, let's look at the end of the game team fight and the quadra kill coming up from Yukduk. We're going to take a look at that once again. Game winning for ROCCAT, but very close overall.
Yeah, a close fight at this point. The home guard in from Maokai. At this setup, Cassio being so far out on her own should have been a great start for ROCCAT, and it actually was, because again, Fox is dealing no damage for the entirety. Only now does the damage start coming out. At this point, ROCCAT just have so much protection for their carries, and SK just kind of funnel themselves in.
Yeah, there was a problem for SK Gaming with the comp they were running here. It had very little dive onto the backline, unless Echo could jump in with the Shen ulti. But as we saw in this fight here, it is ROCCAT starting the fight onto them. They have TP coming in, they get the engage on the Cassiopeia, so there was no threat on Nukeduck in the backline. That's why he can clean it up here, and why it's so tough for the carries to deal damage, because you have to deal with these 2 tanks standing in front, and nobody's touching Nukeduck, nobody's touching Rallis. That's why they win the last team fight, they win the game. But man, this must suck so much for SK Gaming. I mean, last week as well, they were so close, and then like just a few mistakes here and there, and they end up losing the last team fight, and once you are so far into the game, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, that is it. And Sven said it after the game last week. Our decision-making sometimes is flawed. It must be heartbreaking for them, but for ROCCAT, on the other hand, to win like this, a win is a win. And, well, ROCCAT on the rise, still 3-0. We need to take a short break, but when we return, Fnatic will try and continue their record-breaking win streak against Giants Gaming. And while we're away, head over to lolesports.com, where another block of tickets are now available for the Summer 2015 Playoff Finals in Stockholm, Sweden. We hope to see you there.
Once again, as I said, everything you've done in the past lines up to this day, I want you guys to visualize the game. Visualize the game and visualize the game.
Jankos is jumping forward. The chain of corruption will hold Candy in place. A long-range twisted advance will throw Steve into the back line. They've got 1 kill down, 2 kills down. SK are in the advantage. They've only lost the slithering snake. This is getting messy. SK are all over the jungle. Svenskeren is phase diving in. Chrono breaking out.
Cassio dead. Okay, she's gonna die. Okay, she's dead.
Chris is dead. Go.
Shen has no flash. Shen has no flash. He's dead.
Candy Pepper kills him. Down.
Triple kill.
Triple. Nukeduck's gonna look for the quadra. Can he get it? He does. For the 5th time this split, ROCCAT are victorious.